Okay, here we are, Ellen.
Okay.
Back again.
Oh, okay. So,
Um,
go ahead. You go
I'm
ahead.
Michael Rosenbaum, and I'm a spiritual junkie.
Oh, the truth.
Tell the truth here.
The truth.
Anyway, I'm a transformational hypnotherapist and a spiritual coach and teacher, but I love to explore spirituality and understand who we are. And Ellen and I have shared that journey for since 2006.
Right.
And we are the best of friends, and we talk all the time, and we explore this together. And so that's why we're doing this podcast and video together, because Ellen has her own beautiful, unique way of looking at life that I learned so much from, and she feels the same about me. So, Ellen, why don't you just say a few words about
Hey,
yourself?
Ellen Siegel, and I'm a clinical social worker, but that's sort of faded into the background a bit, although I do use it. Spiritual coach, spiritual director, and I'm a personal growth junkie. So marry that with spiritual growth, and things like that. And I don't know, I can't get enough of it for myself and with other people. So, and as Michael said, we've been doing this for a long time, and I learned so much from Michael, with Michael, and this is a lot of fun for both of us. So, okay. So our
Let's
topic today is
topic today is, and it's a seasonal topic here because we have to be recording this in December,
right.
so it's holiday season, Christmas time, and so the topic is the essence of Christ consciousness and how to contact it. And that came through as a download to me, um, actually last year around Christmas time. I'm looking at the date here. And these things come to me, after I meditate and I hear something, whatever, and I start writing it, and information downloads to me from my higher self and from other sources of spiritual intelligence. And I always love them. They're actually all written for me, because when I reread them, I get so much out of them.
Mhm.
As they come through, I'm not really thinking about it, but there's a lot for me to absorb. But then when I share them with Ellen, she says, "Oh, I got this out of it." When I share it with somebody else, they got that out of it. And so the idea, actually, Ellen suggested it, then maybe, do your podcasts around some of these things, because there's something valuable for everybody, different things. So to
Oh, wait.
just
So I just want to add something. So, and this is part of the YouTube channel associated with Be Happy No Matter What, and also a podcast, Enlightening Realizations. So, and so this is a choice for me as well. And we just want to talk a little bit about the idea of Christ consciousness before we really delve into what Michael's gotten. And so Christ consciousness, well, we were talking before, it's a mindset, it's a frame of mind that has to do with the essence of, I don't know, goodwill, love, whatever you want to say it. And according to one of our dear teachers, Paramahansa Yogananda, it's the essence of all ethics and faith and religions and ways people are with each other, that where we hold ourselves up to the highest standards of I'll say easily good behavior, goodwill, whatever good is. We know the difference between good and bad. So
right, absolutely. And I always tell people that, Christ isn't a person. Jesus was a person who became Christ consciousness and communicated that in his lens, which was particular lens of love. But Christ consciousness is like a level of consciousness to reach so that you can reach higher levels of consciousness. So and often people use the word Christ and Jesus interchangeably, but in my mind, they're separate things. Christ is a consciousness that anybody can attain. And Jesus was an incarnation of an avatar, an incredible being who demonstrated Christ consciousness through a certain lens for us. So, but Christ consciousness, besides being love and goodwill and all those good ethics, it's something deeper than that too. And that's what this writing talks about. So what we like to do is I'll read it the way I got it, and then we'll go back and we'll talk about it sentence or two at a time, our take on what it means to us, just as a way to kind of flesh it out a little bit, right? So here's the way I got it last year. Actually, it was on December 25th, right? So I guess I was moved on December 25th. This came through. So the essence of Christ consciousness and how to contact it. In order to experience and know within yourself Christ consciousness, you have to completely strip yourself of your outer identity, your outer thoughts, your outer desires. You need to take your energy back from all the places you have scattered it and bring your awareness, your desire, your searching for love and the truth back to your center. Knowing Christ consciousness is the act of surrender, of self-imploding, going back into the black hole of the formless so you can experience all the form as basically the same element, the same force, the same consciousness. This consciousness is then always available to you to experience through the vehicle of any form, for within the center of each form is Christ consciousness, or the whole, focusing on the whole. Like this gives you an incredible sense of freedom and power to know you are loved, held in the embrace and intelligence of God at all time. There is no separate time, just a blending of consciousness at the center point of who you are. Knowing this center point is knowing Christ consciousness. It is always with you if you choose to focus on it, not as a concept, but as pure experience. So cultivate your experience of this and it will be close at hand. Just an intention and a focus away at all moments in your life. Then you won't be looking for form to supply to you from the outside in, but you will know that all form can supply the same experience of love and wholeness for you. And so the search is over and you are free just to enjoy the uniqueness of form in each moment, knowing it already contains access to the core of what you're yearning for. Each and every form experience, one is not better than the other in delivering that experience. But if you experience your wholeness and surrender to that loving embrace from God, the formless, then you will co-create much beauty and awe and expanded experiences, not just for you, but for all of creation to enjoy.
Wow.
It's a mouthful. Huh?
Wow.
So why don't we jump in and see how that hits us, right?
First
So
of all, I just
go
want
ahead.
to say for those of us who are listening, for those who are listening or watching, that as Michael was sharing that, it wasn't just words coming through. So whether you were open to it or not, you can even open to it now, the energy coming through with the words. So there's always an infusion of energy that comes with words. So I just wanted to say that.
Absolutely. That's really important. These words, as Eckhart Tolle would say, are pointers to a truth. But it's not the truth.
Mhm.
And it's not the experience. It's a pointer to the experience. So and it contains an energy.
Mhm.
All
Mhm.
right. So let's see. Let's start in the beginning.
Okay. To completely strip yourself of your outer identity. Well, your outer identity, your outer thoughts, your outer desires. So, just a reminder for people who are working on themselves that we have sort of an inner life and an outer life.
Right.
And ideally, at some point, we want to bring that into alignment, and that's, we did that series on bringing heaven to earth. And it's like that, So here, the encouragement is to, when you say strip yourself of your outer identity, that's like saying, yes, I'm, a human being on the planet. I live in Ohio and I live in this neighborhood, and I'm a social worker and a coach, and I'm a mother and I'm a sister and I'm a wife, and all the things even I make X amount of dollars a year, or I have 2 cars, or anything that I associate with that's outside of myself. I want to take a step away from in order to have this other experience, the experience of Christ consciousness, purely. That's not associated with outer expressions of who I am. So that's a way to think about it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So, in order to take this journey into Christ consciousness, you have to give up your identity to these things.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a part of us, that sometimes we call the ego, that is afraid to give up those things. You're going to lose something, but you have to lose your identity to gain all identity, to gain some bigger experience of self. You have to give up the smaller experience of self to gain the bigger experience of self. But the smaller experience of self usually sometimes resists that, right? I've seen that hundreds of times in my life when I'm called upon to expand and grow. There's a part of me that says, wait a minute, you sure you want to do this? You're going to lose yourself. But I never have. And I've always gained a greater me. So I think that's what this points to me. In fact, it goes on, same idea. You need to take your energy back from all the places you scattered it and bring your awareness, your desire, your searching for love and the truth back to your center. So we scattered our energy and our identity out there, and we're a bunch of pieces, and we lose the power of being in the center.
I think that also brings to mind a lot of us don't know that we're like a hub inside ourselves. Because sometimes you could feel that in your roles that you play, that's really you, when it's really a role. And you're playing many different roles from a hub inside, which is your center. And that the observing self can witness, ourselves in many different situations, and to bring all that energy back into our center. You could also think about it as being attached to all these narrow attachments that we have, and that when we let go of those, like as you described, all of a sudden our wholeness becomes visible. Because when we're focused on all these attachments and involvements and I'll call it importances in concrete life, material life, that when we let go of those attachments, then we can actually see that we're part of something much bigger. And we can see that sort of from the center. So that's sort of how I experience this.
Yeah.
And what you said, that act of surrendering those attachments, the feeling of surrender, it can be a very relieving thing also when we let go of, often with those attachments are a lot of tension.
The other thing that I've discovered, and I know you have too, as we've learned to deeply meditate, that's an act of surrender too, and letting go. And if I just stick with what I know and who I am and my activities and what I know, I'm repeating the same things over and over again. But when I'm willing to go into the greater me or more formless place, I make all these discoveries of new things. So life is actually much more rich for losing myself, because now I have access to all the brilliance of the universe that I'm able to vibrate at or contact at any given time. So that's something I've discovered, but it's not, you almost have to experience it to kind of understand it.
I think about it as surrendering the limit itself, surrendering the link with you,
Right.
surrendering and that's the form. Because lots of times some people are afraid to relax into the formless, as if they're going to disappear. But really, you're discovering more things about yourself, So
That's true. That's been my experience.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes on to say, knowing Christ consciousness is the act of surrender, of self-imploding, going back into the black hole of the formless, so you can experience all form as basically the same element, the same force, the same consciousness. So it's taking all the diversity and bringing it into the formless or energy in a pure form that all form contains. And so that imagery to me of the black hole of the formless, it's that void, right? You hear that in spiritual talk too, going into the void, and it sounds cold or it sounds scary,
right?
But it isn't cold and it isn't scary. In fact, the void isn't nothing. It's teeming with energy and spiritual intelligence and all kinds of experiences. It's just formless. It's just the possibilities of all those things in terms of where form is concerned.
That's great.
All right.
And it gives an incredible sense of freedom and power. Now, how does it connect to knowing that you're loved? What happens in there that there's that?
Well, that's a great thing. So it says that, right? It says focusing on the whole gives you an incredible sense of freedom and power to know you are loved, held in the embrace intelligence of God at all time. So the nature of what we call God, or the overall intelligence, is love, joy, and bliss. That's its very nature. It can't be anything else. It's not like it's not a duality. It's not like there's good and bad. There's just love. That's the glue that holds everything together. So when you go into the formless, you're right in the center of that experience. And you feel love like you've never felt love before, like you've always yearned and wanted to feel love. All the love that I've desired from my mother, from my wife, from my friends, it's all a version, a slower down version of this greater love. And you can experience it directly when you go into that formless place. And not that you shouldn't enjoy those forms of love in your life, but I can experience them more deeply from having had that experience. And I don't rely on what my mother did, what my wife's going to do for me to feel loved. Because it doesn't come from there. That's just a version of it expressing itself. And I can enjoy it even more deeply. And at the same time, if for whatever reason something goes off or wrong and that gets withdrawn, it's no big deal because the love itself is waiting for you in the formless, in that energy of Christ consciousness or that formless. It's shining on everybody. You just have to get into the vibration so you can feel it.
So that is that so many people for so many years searching, that song, searching for love in all the wrong places. It's like, and I think all of us want that the desires, even of having material things, are in search of some of that kind of satisfaction, filling the hole of love that our parents couldn't give us because they had limited consciousness and their own troubles. And that love is at our center. So that was so beautiful, the way you expressed that, Michael, about it's not going to come from the part that's really satisfying is not coming through our loved ones. And that doesn't mean not to enjoy it. It's a flavor of it, but it's not the whole of it. So I think that that's so beautiful.
So it goes on to say, knowing this center point is knowing Christ consciousness. The center point isn't a thing. It has no form. It's a blending of consciousness, right?
Yeah.
And it's always with you if you choose to focus on it, not as a concept, but as an experience. Once you know the experience, it's always with you and it's ever present, right? It's omnipresent and it's at the center of all form. That the vibration of that center is Christ consciousness, which Christ, meaning it's God consciousness in the state of form, something that's come from the formless into the form. So God's everywhere. So God you can experience it as formless, but you can experience it at the center of all form. But it doesn't matter what the form is.
Right.
It's not at the center of this form, but not at the center of that form. Or I like this person, so it's at the center of this person, but I don't like that person, so it's not at the center of that person. Or I like this food, or I like this thing. No, it's at the center of everything. At the center of everything.
So this line about, so cultivate your experience of this and it will be close at hand. So cultivating the experience of this, to me, is to allow it to be there, to focus on it. Certainly, meditate. But the idea of cultivating your experience of this is to revisit it and revisit it and revisit it within yourself.
Yeah. And the more you do that, then the more it's close at hand. It's just a focus away, as it says, at all moments in your life. no matter what your circumstances are. You got a lot of money, you don't have a lot of money. This is happening, that's happening. You're well, you're sick. None of that matters to this. It's always can be close at hand if you cultivate it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then it says, then you won't be looking for form to supply to you from the outside in, but you'll know that all form can supply the same experience of love and wholeness for you, really from the inside out. So the search is over.
Oh,
You're free
it's
to just
over.
enjoy all form, the uniqueness of it in every moment,
Mm, mm, mm.
knowing all form contains the core of what we're yearning for.
Okay,
So,
wait. So let's just have that.
okay, really.
That's what you just said. That everything at its core has what we've been yearning for in every form. Oh, oh.
Right. How many times have we gone through life and said, wow, if I only had this, if somebody only cared for me or loved me, if somebody only, then I could be whole.
I wish they would do that. Or why did they talk to me this way? Or, whatever.
And this bypasses all of that
Mm,
to understanding that
mm,
when you can feel or sense this Christ consciousness, this formless vibration of love, it's the essence of God consciousness,
mm.
it contains everything you're yearning for. And it's freely available to you for the taking.
And you don't have to go anywhere to get it.
No, that's right. You have to go in.
You have to go in. Right, right. You can't not going out.
Go in, not out.
Mm,
Oh,
mm.
what else to say? Each and every form experience, one is not better than the other in delivering that experience.
Oh.
And the key, it says, is to experience your wholeness and surrender to the loving embrace from God that flows through the formless.
Mm, mm.
So we're an instrument to express that, to feel it, to know it, and then we express it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And you're kind of a co-creator then, right? That's what it says. You'll be a co-creator because when you experience it and express it, then you're creating a version of that in form from the formless through your lens, through you, which is unique. So some new, beautiful version of Christ consciousness and this love gets created on the planet,
Mm,
in you, in your relation to others, in the energy of the collective consciousness,
mm,
just from coming from that place. And that helps others experience it too, because we're all transmitters.
right.
And so it's kind of infectious, right? That energy, it emanates out.
Mm-hmm. And it radiates through you no matter what.
Right.
Mm, just beautiful. Mm. Wow. I'm glad you picked this one. Yep.
So I invite anybody who's listening to this to consider that idea, that they too can experience Christ consciousness. They can contact it by going inward, not outward. And they can feel the abundance of that love that we've all been yearning for, that satisfaction we've all been yearning for is there for us at the center, the core of all form,
Mm.
no matter what it looks like, appears on the outer. It's there. It really is.
And I think we mentioned earlier that once you cultivate this and once you experience it, it really takes hold. And you start to feel, I mean, if you haven't been feeling so great, you really start to feel better and better and better. And just the whole idea of surrendering attachment to limitation is very freeing. And so this is just beautiful, Michael. Just beautiful.
Okay.
So I want to say about Michael. Michael, where do people go if they want to access your meditations? And you have some
Yeah, so I have a
and you have
website.
some classes.
I do. So I have lots of things, and I'm creating more in 2023. I have lots of plans, but I have a website called alternativechoices.org. And that website's also in the process of I'm changing it, but you can see, the different things that I do with people, and I have programs. I have this 90-day program to spiritual development kinds of things where I take you through different processes and experiences and help you remove the ego attachments and things from some of the things that I've learned over my journeys. And then I started teaching classes. There's a class that a friend of mine, who we both know, Lori, have been teaching. It's called Spiritual Blooming. And it's about that journey from ego to soul and how to do that. And we do it, it's 4 weekends. We do it 1 month at a time. And we do it on Zoom. And it's fabulous. We did it twice in 2022. And we were just blown away. It was just amazing. So we'll continue to offer that in 2023, and we're developing other classes as well. And how about you, Ellen?
Well, some people know that they can get the Be Happy No Matter What book on Amazon, and it now has a study guide with it. So that's easy to get. And there's another little book called Handling Your Own Emotions, which is a pocket-sized version that you can have with you when you're in a difficult situation. You can run to the restroom and look in the book. And then on the site BeHappyNoMatterWhat.com, there are contemplative thoughts that you can receive in your email every day, and they're not quite affirmations. These are contemplations that really you get to sit with, and actually, if you allow it, they'll reorganize your mental wiring. And then let's see.
I just want to say, put a little plug for the Be Happy No Matter What series and what you're doing there, because Ellen has a way of saying things that are very clear, unmuddled, really get to the point, and they're easy to understand and embrace, yet they're powerful and very practical. You follow this, and it's like a recipe for well-being. So I highly recommend you check that out.
Thank you. And then, as those of you who have found this video, we have this series of these videos, enlightening conversations on all different types of topics. And I have some new ones coming up too. So, and then there's the coaching, and you can reach me at ellen@BeHappyNoMatterWhat.com. So, as always, Michael, this is great, delicious experience. So.
Yes. So until the next time.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Right.
See you next time.
Blessings to all.
Bye. Happy holidays.